Hey, Cavs fans, welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast for diehard Cavs fans. Corey here with you, along with Alex. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Corey. How's it going?
It's going, man. It's been a minute, and a lot has happened. A lot to talk about since our last episode. But I'm excited to talk some Cavs basketball as always. But first and foremost, did you have a good break, good holidays and all that stuff, family good and all that great stuff?
Yeah, it was nice. It was peaceful, relaxing. Got to visit all the family. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Always great to have that reset time for sure. And enjoy some Cavs basketball as well. And there's been a lot that's happened since the last time we recorded. But we're going to start with the most recent game, the Cavs at home against the Washington Wizards. This was a game they needed, Alex, because they lost the two previous games. And the Wizards are one of those teams where it's like, all right, let's get some swagger back. Let's get our confidence back. And let's get a win at home in front of our home crowd. And they delivered.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little worried there starting at the beginning of the game when the Wizards jumped out to a quick lead. Kuzma was just rolling right down the lane, laying it up, hitting threes. I was like, oh, great. This is how we're going to start.
It's the NBA. I mean, every team has a chance. Any team could be any other given team on any given night. But, once the Cavs kind of broke away, really in that third quarter is where they really blew the door open. They never looked back, basically. Finished the game with 140 points, Alex.
Yeah.
That's I don't think that's a franchise high, but I could be wrong. I saw it was some sort of record. Maybe it was just for this year, or I don't know, but 140 points, that's a lot of scoring.
Yeah, it was. And it was a lot of garbage time, a lot of good time for the second unit to get some minutes. Early in the game, the Wizards were up by 5, and then the Cavs went on a huge run and capped it off, ending the second quarter, going into halftime, I think up by, I want to say 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had a double-digit lead going into the half.
And, from then on, it was over.
It was over, and it was just a great win and a good balance scoring here. Just looking at the box score, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players in double digit scoring. Anytime the Cavs do that, they're pretty tough to beat. Max Strus had a great game with 24 points, was doing his thing out there, shooting the ball. Karis LeVert, I thought, had another great game. He had a great play where he got the rejection on one end. And man, he comes back down the other way on a fast break, does this behind the back pass. His defender didn't know where he went, and then throws the alley-oop to Jared Allen. Man, that was such a fun play. And after that happened, I knew the game was over. But that was one of the highlights for sure of that game.
Yeah, I like seeing Merrill get minutes because he's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the things on our list to talk about, right? And I guess we will. I mean, in between this episode and the last one is when he came in back-to-back games and had career nights, right? I think the first game he had like 23 points or something like that, which was his career high. And then the very next game, the very next night, he comes in and beats that and finishes with 27 or 29 points or something like that. And has really been able to come in and be relatively consistent and providing some minutes here, on a Cavs team that, no surprise, is missing some other key players.
Yeah, he was. I mean, those two games that you mentioned, he was just lights out from 3. I mean, he was hitting them one after the other. Every time the Cavs got the ball down the court and he was out there, they were setting a screen for him so he'd get an open shot, and he was just swishing them. It was awesome.
And I remember you and I, back when Summer League was going on, he had one of those games too where he just really went off in Summer League and had a pretty good Summer League overall. You and I had talked about how we both like his game and like can he find a spot in this rotation? And we were both like, realistically, probably not, if everybody was healthy, right? But this year has created opportunities for players like Sam Merrill, for players like Craig Porter Jr., and it's just funny how things work out, Alex, because not that we want injuries to be happening to our, star players, but without those injuries happening, the Craig Porter Juniors, the Sam Merrills, like those players don't get those opportunities, right? To now, moving forward, most likely be part of the rotation because of what they've been able to prove in the time that they've gotten.
Yeah, one of the Cleveland Charge games I went to last season, um, Isaiah Mobley was playing,
Mm-hmm.
Sam Merrill was playing, and Sam Merrill he was kind of like the captain of the team. He was really the floor general for that Cleveland Charge team, and you could tell he was kind of directing traffic, and they were doing the same things for him there that they do for him now, setting those screens, getting him open looks. He'd draw defenders to him. Defenders will come from the paint to the line to defend him because he can shoot it so deep. So, it
Yeah,
gives him, if somebody's cutting taking a cut or rolling, backdoor, he gets the ball to him for an easy layup. That's part of his game.
yeah, and he's and in this Wizards game, he finished with the solid stat line. He played 29 minutes, 11 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Pretty not too shabby there, right? But he's also not just a one trick pony as well. Like obviously he can shoot the ball, and as players are starting to do more scouting and stuff on him, they're running him off the line more. But that's okay because he hasn't been afraid to drive to the hoop. Last night there was a great inbounds play at the Cavs' own hoop where he started off at the 3 point line, just cut around, came around a curl off of a pick basically, and just was wide open for a layup off the inbound pass. Another time he had the ball at the 3 point line. His defender came out to cover him. He ran right by the defender, made a little drop bounce pass to Jared Allen for a slam. So like he's not just a stand in the corner guy and can't do anything else. He's able to move a little bit with and without the ball and create some other plays as well. So he's been a good story. And as we get bodies back again, we'll see what happens with the rotation.
Mhm.
But he's fit in nicely, which we desperately have needed all the help we can get with some other key players out.
If there's one player on the Cavs you want to take a 3-point shot at the end of the game, who do you want it to be?
Man, I I probably would still go Garland, but man,
Interesting.
it's tough because Garland, Mitchell, Merrill are probably your
Struce.
Struce. Yeah, man, there's a lot of options. That's the beauty about this team this year. You got to all be healthy, but man, you have a lot of lethal options from outside. Levert can hit the three.
Yep.
Niang is capable of hitting a three.
Some say.
And Dean Wade has his moments where he can, hit some shots too. So you have a lot of options, but who would you pick?
I think I would go with Struce, honestly. I think you could use Mitchell as a decoy. You could use Garland as a decoy, but I think
Yeah.
Struce has that stroke. When he gets hot, when he sees the ball go in once, he'll hit it again. He's
Yeah,
he's kind of the guy that I would look for.
and he throws up some deep threes too. He throws some bombs up there. I know everybody does in the NBA these days, but there's been several times this year where I'm like, I can't believe he took that shot, and I can't believe it went in.
Yeah, and I'm saying that without looking at 3-point averages here. I'm sure he's
Sure.
not the highest 3-point percent shooter. I'm just thinking who I trust to take that shot and who I think is going to be open or be able to get open and make that shot.
Yeah.
I think Struce comes to mind pretty quickly.
Yeah. So another player that I kind of wanted to call out here too, along with Sam Merrill, that has really stepped up recently is Jared Allen. Jared Allen has been a goddamn beast. He's 17 and 19 this last game. I think it was the Dallas game. He had 23 points and 24 rebounds, or it was reversed. It was a 2020 game. He's always a double double guy for the most part, right? But he's playing at what we saw last year, kind of like at that elite level where he's just dominating out there on the boards and on top of it scoring. I forget. There's been so many games, but he recently, it might have been the Bucks game where he scored 30 points, which was a new career high for him. I mean, 30 points out of Jared Allen, we'll take that all day, right? But he's been balling out of his mind lately. Probably won't get any considerations for like all-star voting or anything like that. But man, he's been stepping up big time in the absence of some other key players like Evan Mobley.
I think it was this Wizards game where he had the double double in a single quarter, right? Did you
Ah,
hear about that?
I don't know. I
Yeah, he
didn't
had
hear
a
about that.
double double in one quarter,
That's crazy.
and it was the last time. The last Cavs player to do that was Tristan Thompson in
Ah,
like 2015.
that's kind of funny
They
actually.
they
That
were
it's Tristan.
interviewing Tristan Thompson and they asked him that as a trivia question. Who's the last Cavs player to get a double double?
Did
And
he guess
TT knew.
himself?
He said it was
Yeah.
me. And they told him the year, and he says, "Oh yeah, Johnny. Under Coach Beeline, Johnny B." Yeah, it's
That's
funny.
awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, and I still see like some Cavs fans have moments where they get on Allen pretty hard and they're like, we need to trade him. And just remember, 5 years, 20 million with production like this. I mean, the value exceeds the contract, in my opinion. And it's great to see that Allen's out there doing his thing and playing with a lot of confidence right now. Is there anybody else that you feel, during kind of this stretch, and we'll get into some more things here around why we're calling out these players, basically. But is there anybody else that you felt has recently kind of stepped up here in between, the last time we recorded? I got one more, but I want to see who you got.
I mean, Craig Porter Jr.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, but
He's been on a tear.
He's been playing
He
solid.
he
The other
needs more
one,
minutes.
he does need more minutes. His minutes are still spotty at times, which to
Yeah.
me is still kind of mind boggling a bit. But the player I was going to call out, and it's not the first time that I've called him out this season, is LeVert. I think Karis LeVert has, along with Jared Allen and Sam Merrill, has really stepped up during this stretch. And this is the most consistent, in my opinion at least, that we've seen LeVert been in all his time in Cleveland. Finishes with 21 points last night. Sure, he's not doing that every night,
He had
but man,
31 the night before, or the
31 the night
game
before,
before.
like
Yeah.
like he just does not stop. He does not get tired, and he's just a bucket, man. And when nobody else is hitting, and and Mitchell's out and Garland's out, like LeVert has no problem being that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Has no problem being that
That's
guy.
yeah. I mean, that's why he's on that second unit, because
Yes,
he can bring the firepower when Garland's not out there, Mitchell's not out there.
right.
I mean, Levert's he's got you.
For sure, for sure. So we gotta kind of talk about kind of one of the biggest things that happened since the last time we recorded, which happened kind of right after our last episode. But man, the news of Darius Garland and Evan Mobley on the same day, both being announced by the Cavs that they were going to miss significant minutes, right? Or
Right.
significant time. Mobley was already out. He had missed 3 or 4 games already. And then Garland had the jaw injury happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cavs decided to announce, both the same day. I forget exactly what the timeline is, but at minimum, it was what, four to 6 weeks,
Mobley got the knee scope, and it was 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
And
Yeah.
I haven't really heard anything about Mobley, but I would
Same here.
assume it would be around the same time frame.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he was 6 to 8, and Garland maybe I saw was 4 to 6. But it's significant time, right? I mean, that's a lot of basketball games, and it's funny because when I saw that news, man, my initial reactions got the best of me. I messaged you. I messaged some other
Mm-hmm.
folks. I'm like, oh man, this season's over.
Yeah,
They're the Cavs, man. They're going to do it. They're going to entertain trading Mitchell now. I'm
it's
like,
like
it's
no
done.
way, no
Like it's
way.
done. And Alex is like, nah, there's still a lot of basketball left. And my other buddies were like, come on, dude. Like, what are you freaking out about? I'm like, that's 2 big heavy hitters to be missing though. But
Yeah.
it sucks. But I will say, overall, it feels like the Cavs have kind of held their own in their absence. I think you had some stats or some pretty good educated guesses on how the Cavs have kind of fared since Garland and Mobley have been out. But the Cavs have basically standing wise, have been in the same place they were
Yeah,
before the injuries, right?
yeah,
They floated anywhere from the 5th to 8th seed, basically.
yeah. I started keeping track of it because I wanted to see. All right, how bad are we going to flounder here? How many games are we going to drop?
Yep.
Surprisingly, the Cavs went 5-1 with Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell out. The only game they lost was to the Pelicans. They beat the Mavericks, they beat the Bulls, they beat the Jazz, they beat the Rockets, they beat the Hawks.
Yep.
And then Mitchell came back, and
Two.
we dropped two games. One was the Bucks,
And then the
and then
Raptors.
and then the Raptors game, which we
Yeah.
should not have lost. Which
No.
still drives me crazy thinking about it.
But that's crazy because, yeah, we first lose Garland and Mobley. NBA Twitter world just blows up, right? I'm
Oh yeah,
sure the Cavs started getting an influx of calls on gauging Mitchell and, trading interest from the Cavs, which was quickly shot down, by the way. Like, there was like a day of that. And then, like, the next day, like, all the heavy hitter reporters basically were saying there is no fire sale in Cleveland. Mitchell's not up. Like, the organization has made it clear they have no plans to move Mitchell, which was nice to see. But then on top of Mobley and Garland being out, Mitchell goes down with this mysterious illness that I feel we still haven't fully heard what it was. He talked about it a little bit. I don't know if he got COVID. I don't know if he got the flu. But man, I never would have guessed, or in my wildest dreams would I have thought that there would be a stretch this season where all three of those guys were out at one time.
yeah.
You know, like, man. And then on top of it, to still play around 500 or slightly above 500 ball, I felt like the Cavs did a great job. They're doing a great job weathering the storm so far.
Yeah, yeah. It got a lot of guys that weren't getting minutes and to
Yeah.
prove that they could step up and be next man up, and they did. And now we're seeing some good returns from that. We discovered Craig Porter Jr. That kid's been playing out of his shoes. Guys are getting minutes that weren't getting minutes before, and it's paying off because now we got a second unit that we can plug in, and we're not losing huge leads or letting teams catch back up when we do plug those guys in. They can contribute now because they're getting minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how the Dean Wades of the world were discovered. Same way, right?
Dean
Undrafted
Wade's
player.
stock is pretty low right now.
His stock is pretty low now, but a year or two ago,
Yeah,
same scenario. Kevin Love's still here. Kevin Love's not playing. Dean Wade's inserted, does some nice things. We called him the poor man Kevin Love, but you know what I mean? For an undrafted player making next to nothing, like, that was Dean Wade. And we've had other players over the last couple years where, yeah, due to injuries, you discover, well, wait a second,
yeah.
we got a little bit of a diamond in the rough here sitting on the bench. And this year it's Craig Porter Jr. and it
And
looks like,
Merrill.
and Merrill,
Yep.
has stepped up as well. And it's allowed us to weather this storm. So,
And Thompson's getting some minutes and
yep,
kind of a
yep.
resurgence for him. And boy, he's been playing great when he gets in the game.
There's a lot of players that have been playing well, and they get the opportunity when their number gets called, and they've been showing up. So it's been good. And now that we have Mitchell back, hopefully they can continue to play well as a team. When Mitchell comes back, he just there's a different dynamic with Mitchell there, right? There's not as many shots for everybody, right? We know how that all goes. But we all rather have Mitchell back than not have him back, right? It's a nice story with Sam Merrill, but I'm not relying on him for, come
I don't know. I
playoffs
would have
and
rather Sam Merrill take that three that Mitchell
yeah,
took.
against Toronto.
Yeah, against Toronto. Oh man,
Yeah,
he took
you
two
want to
of
talk
them and
about
missed
that?
them both.
You want to talk about that real quick?
I don't know if I do want to talk about that, Corey.
You said the Toronto game bothered you, kept you up at
He
night.
also had that where he could have laid it up and got us 2 points and tied the game. Instead, he did a little Euro step,
Yeah.
slowed it down, drew the foul, but then missed the layup. Ah, kill me. Kill
The
me.
Raptors game was a frustrating loss because the Raptors, they're kind of trying to figure things out. They had just made a trade the day or two before that with the Knicks, But
They had just lost
they had just lost to the
to the
Detroit.
Detroit Pistons, who were on a 28 game losing streak, and then
That
we lose to them. Like,
real quick, the Cavs, by the way, remember the Cavs previously held the record at 26 game losing streak. And that's finally been erased with Detroit's 28 game win streak. But to be honest with you, maybe it was a bad
is
game.
it? Is that?
Yeah, 28 is the new record.
I swear they said 28 tied was a tie.
Well, it erased whatever because the
Okay.
Cavs held the record at 26 for a while. Maybe there was some other team recently that wiped that out because that was like during the dark ages in between LeBron's first stint and second stint. When like what was his name? Like Jamario Moon was here and stuff. But
Okay, I found it. So
what is it?
you're right. You're right.
All right.
Detroit holds the record with 28 straight losing games. If you want to count it, the Philadelphia 76ers also lost 28 consecutive games, but it was across 2 seasons.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But to play Toronto after that might have been a bad thing because they were probably embarrassed and probably highly motivated. Like, we got to get a win tonight. And they just had more energy than the Cavs. And then just the end of that game was just crap. And not the greatest shot selections by Mitchell, some other quote unquote controversial calls, but no excuse. The Cavs could have won that game. They got down big a couple times in that game, which they never should have, and they had a chance towards the end and just couldn't get it done. So
Yeah, there's some questionable officiating.
yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? I mean,
Siakam shuffling his feet on that down that sideline on that
sometimes it's not going to
inbound
swing your
pass.
way. It's not going to swing your way all the time. You got to find a way to
That
still win the game.
two lane violation calls on Mitchell that that replay. I think those were bad calls.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it moving.
All right.
So we got Mitchell back. We're still waiting for Garland and Mobley. We're still a little bit of ways from that. I don't know if you saw today. I guess NBA All-Star voting early results are starting to come out. I don't know if you saw this, but the Cavs tweeted out. Currently, Donovan Mitchell is the number 4 guard in the East in the voting standings. It's Halliburton, Damian Lillard, which I had to do a double take. I'm like, oh yeah, he's in the East, right? Yeah, on the Bucks. How'd that happen again? Somehow. And then Trae Young, which Trae Young is probably the one that bothers me the most, that he's ahead of Mitchell.
Yeah.
But Donovan Mitchell, only one as of right now that looks like, is even on the board. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Mitchell is a lock this year for NBA All-Star?
People need to vote. Fans, you got to vote. That's all there is to it. We need to support our players. Some days they have triple vote days. I think New Year's Day was a triple vote day. Christmas might have been a triple vote day. But yeah, you got to get on either the NBA.com or NBA app to vote. They don't allow it through Twitter anymore.
And it's early voting, but what I remember was there was like a decent gap in between like Trae and Donovan and whoever was below him, which I forget who it was. Like, it was like a 200,000 gap between 4th and 5th. So he has a little bit of space, but he's like around 150 or close to 200 behind Trae Young. You know what I mean? And I don't know how many. I feel like if he's in the top 4 for guards, like I don't know. I don't remember how many they take for each position. He might still be okay, but it'd be nice to see him move up. And it just sucks that like we can't get, like the chances of somebody else on the Cavs, like a Garland or a Mobley, getting on there is nil, right? Because of the injuries and all that kind of stuff. So it feels like Mitchell is the only one that will even be on the ballot, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be cool to see Mitchell, in an All-Star game, repping Cleveland. Hopefully it makes it, like Alex said.
Yep.
Cavs fans, make sure you go ahead and vote.
Got to support Mitchell. We got to, hope he stays. Gets that contract extension.
Hope he stays. Hope he stays.
Hope he stays.
Some other news that came out today. A chapter has finally come to a close, Alex. And there was some reports that this was kind of in the works Starting like last week, I started to first see this, but Ricky Rubio and the Cleveland Cavaliers agreed to a buyout, which gives the Cavs now a roster spot, gives them a little bit of salary flexibility. I think you had some numbers earlier today. It's nothing, crazy.
He was making 6 million.
Yeah,
So prorated this season, I think it was 3.5 million left, and then 6 million next season.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know what the Cavs can do with that. Maybe it's an opportunity to look at Craig Porter Jr.'s situation now with his play because he's on a 2-way contract. They can convert him over into that, kind of permanent roster spot. They could trade and bring in another body. We could definitely use, maybe another player or two, another position. I feel like we need another big. Um, but shortly after, the announcements of uh, the Cavs agreeing with Rubio to a buyout, Rubio came out and announced that he was retiring from the NBA, which I don't think was overly shocking. But I don't know. Did you see his tweet, his letter?
No, I didn't see his letter.
I'll read it real quick because I have it up. I thought it was pretty good, and he gives Cleveland some extra love, which is really why I want to read it. But he said, "Hello, July 30th was one of the toughest nights in my life. My mind went to a dark place. I kind of knew I was going on that direction, but I never thought I wasn't under control of the situation. The next day, I decided to stop my professional career. One day, when the time is right, I would love to share my full experience with you all so I can help support others going through similar situations. Until then, I would like to keep it private out of respect for my family and myself as I'm still working on my mental health. But I'm proud to say I'm doing much better and getting better every day. I wanted to post this message for you today because my NBA career has come to an end. It all started on June 2009, draft in New York. What a dream. After playing 12 years in the league with all the ups and downs, I've collected lots of good memories and great relationships. Minnesota, Utah, Phoenix, and Cleveland. Wow, thank you. Special mention to Cleveland, my last home. I know the way things ended have been tough. I could never have imagined the year would develop this way, but you have an amazing organization with Kobe and JB who have been extremely respectful and understanding of my situation and caring for me as a person. Thank you all for the love and support." So I thought that was pretty well, communicated. It was nice to get that kind of little shout at the end. And he'll go down, someday we'll do a trivia on this, but he'll go down in the books of, I think it'd be fun one day to talk about former Cavs players who retired from the NBA. Like their last game played in the NBA was in a Cavs jersey. Rubio will be on that list, right? Unfortunately, he didn't get to suit up this year, and I know I was more high on him than you were, but man, that first season he was here, there was just some magic moments. He came out, ran that second unit with Kevin Love, and just put on some outstanding performances. I still remember the one he had in New York. I saw several people talking about that specific performance, and he got nothing but love from Cavs fans today after sending this out, Alex.
Oh yeah, just such a smart player too. Always making the right play, finding guys, getting the switch offs, finding the mismatches. Like that was his game. That was his specialty. Yeah, he was great. Yeah, I'll miss him. I was hoping he would still come back at some point, but this point in the season, it's getting a little late. It was time. It was time to finalize something with him.
Yeah, and he was such a crafty player. I remember, not only would he beat you, his dribbling and stuff, but he just had that great mid-range pull up or fake and make the defender, you know, jump for the ball, and then he's just coming up for a layup and getting the and one or something like that. On top of just being able to run the offense, he was a wizard. And a lot of folks may not know, but he was playing professional ball overseas since the age of 14. So he's had a long basketball career. And I was so excited when the Cavs were able to bring him back after we traded him for LeVert. Remember, we traded him for LeVert. Pacers waived him, and we were able to bring him back. And he still wasn't healthy that last year when he came back, didn't play, a ton of games. And it's kind of sad how it ended, but man, we'll all remember that first year for Ricky Rubio, and man, just a great player.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of reminds me of Derrick Rose coming to the Cavs there a little bit. Just
Yeah,
he was hurt, he came, he played a little bit, then he was hurt again, and then
yeah,
he just kind of left.
yeah. The difference with Rose, though, he continued he's actually played better
He
basketball
eventually did come back to
since
the NBA. Yeah.
leaving the Cavs, to where Rubio was done at this point.
Any chance do you think Rubio comes back in a couple of years?
No,
Nope. All
no,
right.
I think he's completely done with playing basketball. Um, so I wish it was. Or who needs to be next is Ty Jerome. Man,
I
it's
think you
it's
mean Dylan Windler, don't you?
no, Windler's gone, man. Even the Knicks said get out of here. The Knicks waived him a couple weeks ago. By the way,
There's
I don't know if
a
you heard
funny.
that.
I saw a funny meme, Cavs meme going around, and it had Dylan Windler 2023, and then it said Dylan Windler 2024, and it had a picture of Ty Jerome.
Oh my god,
He's
it, it, it it's
the
it,
new
it
Windler.
of all the crazy things that have happened this year, the greatest mystery to this season is what is going on with Ty Jerome, who rolled his ankle after like
Yeah,
game
still listed as an
2.
ankle injury. Yeah,
You gotta be kidding me, man. Like, people like all the time on Twitter and social media are like, every time like the local beat writers announce who's out, like who's on the injury report, there's always a bunch of Ty Jerome comments. And it's sad because I liked Ty Jerome. Like, he looks
and
crafty. He had good
yeah,
size.
the small sampling we saw of him, like, yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
hey, this guy's pretty good. I don't know who he is
exactly.
or where he came from, but yeah, he plays pretty well.
Exactly. But again, it's funny how things work out, because if Rubio was here and Ty Jerome was playing, guess who wouldn't be playing? Craig Porter Jr.
Right. Or Sam Merrill,
And I think most Cavs fans at this point would roll with Craig Porter Jr. over Rubio or Ty Jerome because he's
I'm in
young.
that bucket now.
Yeah,
I would say that.
exactly.
At this point, they're his
We've seen
minutes.
enough of him to know that, man, he could be a special player, right? So it's just crazy how things work out. You know, all it takes is an injury and someone gets discovered, basically, in the NBA. What do you want them to do with that roster spot? Any ideas?
I don't know. Like, I don't know how that cap situation works. So, did we just get that 3.5 million that was owed to Rubio to toy around with? Like,
I
I don't even know who's out there, or you know, I don't know.
Dylan Windler's a free agent.
I think we're sitting pretty right now, and I like the talent we have on this roster. I think we got a lot of guys that can play really good team ball, and we're having trouble getting those guys minutes right now. So I don't really think that it matters who they add at this point. I don't. I like your idea of giving Craig Porter Jr. Some sort of guaranteed money.
That's my prediction. I think they'll move him off the two-way, move him to a permanent roster spot. I'd like to see them make one more move after that, though. I feel we need another big in the rotation, and we've talked about this. You know,
Just to throw it out there, there's 3 two-way players. There's Isaiah Mobley, Craig Porter Jr., and Imani Bates is the third one.
yes, yes. So yeah, I mean, if they can easily move over Craig Porter Jr. now if they wanted, have another two-way contract. I don't know who they would bump up to that. But we'll see. I mean, here's the thing. Now we mentioned earlier that the Knicks made a trade with Toronto. Now we have an open roster spot, and all of a sudden it kind of just clicked in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, it's early January, like it's trade deadline season now. All of a sudden you're going to start hearing or seeing other teams making moves to try to improve their roster, or you'll have some teams that do the typical fire sale. And it'll be interesting to see if the Cavs do anything, and if they do, it'll probably be minimal. But it's always fun, at this time of year, to see, is your team going to do something or not. And I'll be curious to see if the Cavs pull any trigger on anything. Is there anybody on the Cavs roster? This is a good segue. Is there anybody on the Cavs roster right now? Alex knows where I'm going. That you wouldn't mind if the Cavs moved on from, and if so, who and why? Don't hold back.
I think it just depends on who we could get for him.
Nah,
Um,
just don't even play that game. Just who would you be fine with? You know what? Put him on the block and let's see what offers
I
come
won't say
flying.
let's put him on the block, but I am kind of tired, running out of patience with George Niang. Like, and I'll give him props. This
15
last
and 8
couple
last night. 15 and 8.
against the Wizards, Corey, against the Wizards.
Yes,
Everything
yes, yes.
before, I just he's got to be the most unathletic dude in the NBA. He's just always a step slow.
There was
He's
one move. I will say
he
this. There
gets
was
out
one move.
rebounded. Defenders blow past him. He
There
seems
was there was one
he's
play last night where he had the ball at the
frustrating.
3-point line. He drove, he went around his back, drove to the hoop, did like a spin fader. And this was right as Brad Daugherty was talking about how the Cavs need to have patience because they keep coming down and getting like one shot up and, not getting second chance opportunities. But he turns around and just gets stuffed.
Yeah.
Like his vertical on that play was not very high.
Mm-mm.
He just got stuffed. I don't mind him. He's a
Tends to do that a
fiery.
lot. He'll get
Well,
into the paint and then he'll lose the
yeah.
ball. He turns it over. He makes a bad pass. I don't know.
He's a pudgy guy. He's his mind wants to do more than what his body can do. It feels like it's like when I go play basketball. I can't do what I could do when I was 20 years old anymore, right? You just go and your body says nope, can't do it. But he can hit some threes. He can grab some rebounds, and he's a fiery, he's a passionate guy. I don't mind him, but I also am not going to be upset if he was part of a trade package as well.
I don't get that either. Like, we got him because he's a 3-point shooter. And so I was
Mhm.
looking at his stats, right? I say, oh, yeah, he's like a 40% 3-point shooter the past few seasons. I was like, that's awesome. So why is he
Yes.
shooting 32% for the Cavs?
I don't
He's,
know.
yeah, just career low
He's
for
not
him.
having he's not having yeah, he's not measuring up to what he was doing previously before joining the Cavs. So I can see why a lot of fans would be low on him. At the same time, his trade value is probably not really high either. So you're probably not going to get much for him. He'd be a
They
throw in
had
if
him mic'd
anything
up
else.
this last game, so they were playing a lot of clips of him talking on the court and warming up, and it was
Well, what
pretty
do you think?
funny.
I was gonna say,
He's
what
a
do you think?
funny
Like
guy.
he's a funny guy. He's like he's gonna do something in broadcast. He's gonna do something with broadcasting after his NBA career
He's
is
kind of like
over.
an RJ or a
Yeah, like an
Channing.
RJ. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. I can
he's a
totally
little
see
jokester.
him being like a color commentator somewhere doing something.
And
So
and one of the mic'd up that they showed, he hit a three, and he turns around, and he's like, "Finally!" It's like, yeah, we're all saying that with you right now. Like,
right,
finally,
right.
you made a three.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, we'll have to see. If it was me, like there's several players I would be fine with moving on from, but their trade value is so low that it's like I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to talk about Damian Jones. Like, yeah, you can go ahead and trade him. You're not going
Damian
to get
Jones.
anything.
Damian Jones looked like a beast against the Wizards.
I know, but it's just I don't know. I Allen's balling out of his mind, but we're very thin behind Allen. Like Tristan's been doing solid and stuff, but I don't want to get to a point to where if we have an Allen injury, we got to rely on Tristan or like a Damian Jones to play starter minutes. I don't know. I'm just not comfortable with that. So
I'd say there'd be a large contingent on the Cavs subreddit that would want to move on from Dean Wade.
yeah, you were saying that you've been seeing a lot of folks ragging on him. His stock seems to be dropping.
Drippy Dean's falling down the
Yeah,
ladder, but
I,
we're already thin at the big man. You can't get rid of one of our big mans unless you're bringing back a quality big man.
yeah. He didn't have a great night last night. 2 points in 20 minutes, and like
Yeah,
that's a team you need to feast on. Not struggle against. And that's part of the problem is due to injuries and stuff, and just because the Cavs did give him that contract, right? Um, he's getting more minutes, more heavy minutes than what he did in years past, and it's just tough. He's had to play a lot of starter minutes with Mobley being out, and in most nights he's not going to be on the winning end against whoever he's guarding on the other team's opposing, starting forward, and he just hasn't been able to be consistent as a result.
Mhm.
His best role was when he was coming off the bench with that second unit, or he gets plugged in to play a few starter minute, when an injury is occurring. But when he's got to play 10, 15, 20 games, it's tough. It's tough for him to be consistent. So the other topic I wanted to mention, Alex, and this one will be fun, is I don't know if you saw, but LeBron recently turned 39. He's getting up there, dude. He's an old man now.
He's still younger than me.
Yeah, well, what's your vertical versus his vertical?
It's never been measured, Corey. We'll never know.
Anyways, the NBA decided, in the honor of him turning 39, to release on their YouTube channel the 2016 Cavs championship documentary that was on the championship DVD after the team won it, which I did pull out, Alex. It's right here. See, I found it. Got it up on the shelf tonight.
Nice.
And man, it was fun watching that.
Yeah.
It had been years since I watched it, and I sent it to you, and you got to watch it too, and you gave it great reviews as well. But what kind of stood out to you on that documentary about the greatest Cavs team in NBA franchise history? I'm just going to say that real quick disclaimer, because rewatching that, just fans forget things, right? Even if the Cavs win another championship in our lifetimes before we die, it will never. The 2016 championship will always be the best because of all the storylines and all the historic moments coming back from 3-1, the local kid, LeBron winning it. Like, I don't care if the Cavs win another one, it'll be great, but it won't ever surpass that 2016 championship.
Yeah, I think the best thing that stood out for me is just remembering just how much fun that team was to watch and all the camaraderie that they had, and seeing, J.R. Smith out there and Shumpert and, Deli and Mo Williams was on that team.
RJ, Mo Williams, Channing Frye. It's like, man.
Sasha Khan.
Sasha Khan. Yeah.
Just everybody, man. Everybody.
It was great. And I highly recommend watching it. I posted it on our socials this week as well. But you can easily find it on NBA's YouTube channel. I thought they did a good job overall with covering the timeline of events, because it actually starts with kind of, LeBron being drafted, us going to the finals against the Spurs, LeBron leaving, Kyrie getting drafted, Wiggins getting drafted, us, bringing, in Love after LeBron announces he's coming back. LeBron
it went through winning championships with the Heat.
With the Heat in between. It did a very good job of going over the whole timeline. And the whole documentary is only like 55 minutes long. So they don't harp too long on either.
It moves very quickly through the timeline. They have little sit-down interviews with everybody. Dan Gilbert talking about how he met with LeBron, and they sat and talked for several hours about him coming back to Cleveland, and only maybe I can't remember what the exact quote was that Dan Gilbert said, but he said something about, when I met with LeBron, we talked 15 minutes about the past. And 2.5 hours about the future.
Yeah. He basically on tape admitted tampering, but at that point he got the ring. Who gives a shit, right? Find me, Adam Silver. I don't care. I'm a millionaire.
That part I just found interesting, because about the whole Comic Sans, letter to the fans and all that.
Oh yeah. But it just brought back a lot of memories too of like you said, like how fun that team was. How good Kyrie Irving was, man. Oh my gosh. He was
man.
Amazing.
Showing those clips of Kyrie just crossing people over. Oh my goodness.
That's the other great thing about it too, is it's not just a documentary where you're just interviewing, it's showing a lot of highlight clips along the way. And it's just like, man, I don't know if it'll ever be that good again, Alex.
Kevin Love with the WWE Championship belt over his shoulder.
Man, he had a head of hair on him too, with the curls and everything. Yeah. And geez, it was very well done, and it does a great job of capturing everything. And today you said something that you sent me an IM at work that made me laugh pretty good. You're like, I finished the documentary and seeing Verajao in a Warriors jersey burned my eyes.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that totally.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a 2-second clip where they're showing the Warriors like during the national anthem or something like that, and it's Steph Curry, and then there's Anderson Varejao standing next to him in a Warriors jumpsuit or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, like yeah, remember that whole
Yeah,
crazy
he played
scenario.
against us.
He still got a ring though. Gilbert still gave him a ring, even though the Cavs won. Just again, so many different stories, and just the Cavs Warriors rivalry is a huge story in itself. And then just to come back, the first team in NBA history down 3-1 to come back and win the finals, and the way they did it, it'll never be topped. And man, that was special. And I can have a lot more years, Alex, of being a frustrated Cavs fan, but I got that. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I can always tip my hat out and fall back on that.
Oh yeah.
So definitely recommend Cavs fans going to the NBA's YouTube channel. You can easily find the documentary. It's a good trip down memory lane.
Speaking of YouTube videos, I watched the latest Cavs of the Road Back. It's actually like a month old now, but
Yeah,
it covers Craig Porter Jr. Making it onto the Cavs and his first breakout game and winning the Junkyard Dog chain.
Yep.
So it's a real short one. It's only like 20 minutes, but it's totally worth checking out. It's good stuff.
Yeah. We missed talking about that last time, and good timing because that's right around when Craig Porter Jr. was starting to, get some love, get some minutes, and showing what he could do. And I'm just glad that the Cavs are, looks like they're doing another year of the road back. So we've always enjoyed those. We've been enjoying them over the last several years. So good to see the Cavs are still doing that, and still the Junkyard chain too. Man, some of those pictures after the game that they tweet out when they got the chain on, and man, some of those are the Jared Allen ones are gold. They're just gold. They're hilarious. Um, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I can't think of anything else at the moment.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened, a lot of good things to talk about. Cavs upcoming schedule, Alex, real quick, and then we can wrap up. So
Sure.
they beat up on the Wizards, and hopefully they can do it again tomorrow. One of those scenarios where they play them back to back, and they're both in Cleveland. 7:30 tip off, and then the much anticipated Spurs game because Cedi Osman comes back to town for the first time. That's why people are buying tickets, right? They're not buying it to see Wembley. They're buying it to see Cedi come back home, right?
Gotta be.
You think he gets a tribute video? My God.
I don't
My
know.
God.
I don't think so. But
he
maybe. I wouldn't
was
rule
here
it
like
out.
7 years. I don't know. Like the Cavs have been very generous with their tribute videos. It feels like.
I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Cavs next week is the Paris game against the New Jersey Nets on January 11th at 2 p.m. Alex, midday. I kind of like that. I was afraid it was going to be a weird real early game or a real late game, but 2 p.m. I mean, it's in the middle of the day, but I could dig that.
This is a Spurs game, right?
No, Nets in Paris.
Nets in Paris.
Nets in Paris. Sundays at home against the Spurs.
Okay.
Cedi Osman tribute night, and then they fly off to Paris to take on the Nets. That's gonna be interesting. I wonder what that crowd's gonna be like. And then they come back home against the Bulls. So before playing like the Bucks, so they kind of have a stretch of games here: Wizards, Spurs, Nets, Bulls. Just saying,
All
they're
winnable.
all winnable games.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to go on a nice little 5-game win streak here, right? Starting with last night. So we'll see what the Cavs do. That Paris game will be fun to watch. And man, Cavs basketball. Gotta love it.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. Want to thank you, Cavs fans, as always, for tuning in and listening. And Alex, you want to let them know where they can follow us and connect with us.
Follow us on Twitter at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Watch this episode on YouTube. Click like, click subscribe. Leave us a rating, review. We'd appreciate it.
All right, Cavs fans, there it is. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.